Here we are, again. Do you feel the beat?
Again?
Do you feel the beat?
We are in the Scouts because we went to Essen Motor Show.
We are doing things.
And we want to make a video, but of course we got carried away by checking cool cars and going around.
And meeting people. There's these people that you almost see from year to year there.
But we had fun and we found it interesting.
Yeah.
I posed this question before we go in. I asked you, do you think like European tuning scene is dying? Because
No, the lights are dying, but it's okay. We can still focus.
we have been running some budget cuts recently, as you noticed.
This production is...
One less presenter, the battery is dying of cameras, battery is dying of lights. Anyway, I asked, is the European tuning scene done, finished? Is tuning dying here? Because you know, there's all these regulations and whatnot, things that you can and you cannot do. Internal combustion engines going away. Quick answer, no, absolutely not. The show is huge. We saw bigger and better cars than ever. I can imagine how someone that goes often could say like it's been the same thing. We have a different opinion. We're gonna run our list of cars. We have a couple of favorites.
Yeah.
We saw things that we were genuinely interested about. This is the only reason why this video
Yeah,
is
and other
happening.
things that we probably were expecting weren't there. So there's always, cool surprises, some other tendencies that we are, not so keen about.
The trends. It's trends that we don't like. Yeah. Actually, we're going to talk about this, but in the end of the video.
Yeah.
Let's actually be real to what the title of the video is, and let's give you a little bit our top 5 from Essen Motor Show 2023. Number 1 is not one specific car, is the amount of race cars.
The amount of race cars. Yeah, and there's this tension between tuning and race cars, and tuning being here and race cars being there, and finally meeting in the same place. Like lots of solutions or technologies or stuff that you see only in race cars into tuning cars, and I will not say vice versa, but many race cars, many cool race cars of all sorts, rally, touring cars, Formula 1.
Formula 1, there was like always, there was a real Formula 1 car, and then at KW there was a Lamborghini prototype. There were many race cars, actual race cars, the Grello, the Manta GT3R, and the Opel Manta that you guys love. Like all the things that we see here.
I was disappointed though.
Why?
I was expecting to see the current GT4 champion, aka Gabriele Piana, the car there, to lick it a little bit, and it wasn't.
Anyway, from entering the building, like we enter through the main entrance, and we saw an M4 GT4. Like honestly, not the car that Sergio wanted, but an M4 GT4. Next to it, an M2 CS and a cool Audi GT2 converted thing. And like between that to all the dragsters, a lot of USA stuff.
Oh, actually, yeah, all of the NASCAR cars.
All the NASCAR cars. It was the 75 years of NASCAR celebration, so they had like original.
Completely away from my thing. Completely down his alley. He was ecstatic to see these cars. Actually, a Dale Earnhardt car, a genuine car, Bobby Rahal, many cool cars.
And we're gonna come back to this theme that how Germans really love US car culture, exactly. I do a little bit as well, but this is not the point of that. Like in total, number 1 in our top 5 was these cool race cars. I would pick personally that very cool odd Talbot. Like there was this turbo Talbot, I didn't even know what it was.
Actually, a very obscure car. I'm very surprised with this choice from you. But yeah, it was an original 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring, what, 1981? 1981.
We
car.
had to research it. Like normally we go in this place and we are familiar with the car. So I have seen a GT3R multiple times.
And we have seen Talbot and Simca Rally, but not this kind of Group 5
they had like
actually
cool
big turbos and stuff.
That on the side. We should move to the next thing that there was plenty of. And that was not so expected. I'll be honest, the race cars, being in Germany, having all this series, I kind of expected. The next thing I didn't expect, we saw the most Skylines we've ever seen in our life. Actually, the most are 34s, more than in Tokyo.
Actually, if midnight purple is a bit of a special tone, a special color, I think we've seen them all.
Yeah, I think there
At
were
least
2 or 3, the ones
yeah.
that are in Germany.
Yeah.
2 or 3 midnight purple car, original cars. Multiple are 34s in different places.
Yeah.
I will pick a specific one, because this is still has to look like a bit of like a top 5.
I think where you are going.
You know what it
And
is.
I probably agree with you.
We agree on this. We both couldn't believe it. We went close. We said, like, is that really an Amuse car? There was an Amuse Carbon R, the original car. There is only one of these cars. That is, I knew that it was in Europe, but I didn't know that Chrome Cars owned it. It was for sale like a few years back. It's a particularly cool car, that car. You might know Amuse from Best Motoric videos and of video option and
Those
whatnot.
S2000.
Exactly. I would say the number one thing is the S2000s. You have seen these cars at the Toge do the thing. But Amuse does everything. Amuse does Supras. There is this very famous video that has the Amuse Supra and the Mine Skyline GTR. This was one of the first.
This is still a favorite of mine, this video.
Because they're both these cool 6-cylinder engines that we are not familiar with. Or we were not familiar with, because currently they are here in Germany. This is make this video too complicated. Chrome Cars brought many famous JDM cars, some real Fast and the Furious cars, and that Amuse car. Quick specs, because I had to go and look for them, because I did remember the car, but it was a long time that I haven't seen it, and I want to make sure that my numbers are correct. This car is, listen to this car is 1,060 kilograms. Okay. It is rear-wheel drive only. They removed everything.
Which is about impossible in an R35.
It's impossible in R34. They literally they removed everything. It had this dry carbon bits, and it has this body kit that.
But the good thing is that the patina of the car is there.
This
like, the glue and
the body kit. It's not the modern, fancy, cool stuff that you see. It's a little bit like a JDM of the 2000s. Yeah. So it is cut and riveted, and you could see exactly as Sergio said, the patina of where the two body panels would connect, and the interior, the lack of roll cage. It was a little bit like a bubble car, you know, because. What was JDM tuning, the one that got us a bit excited about that JDM scene, you know? The tuning of today, it is 20 times more advanced. And I know this might be a polarizing opinion, but I guarantee you the quality of level that like a young kid in Germany is building a Capri, we're going to come back to that later, or the JP Performance Golf that we're going to come to that later. It's built 20 times at a higher standard than how these cars were built in Japan. But if you bring them in context,
that doesn't
it doesn't take any of its value. We were there, and we couldn't stop looking at the car.
Even with the car incomplete and far from a very good corner, I would say, not very well lit or anything, the car had a particular presence.
It had the presence.
An aura to it that really got us a little bit excited.
And Amuse has a very cool history, so I highly recommend you go check the story. And Tanabe-san dying, and this is why these cars were sold. Like a very, very cool history. Very cool car, sort of iconic of that era. Let's move to something that is not iconic. Number 3 in our top 5 list.
And that is?
Is something that I hate. I mean, we put this list together, so it would not make sense to have something that we don't like. But I cannot say it. I hate the M2 G87, like the modern M2. I hate it. I do not like the car. I do hate it. It's not that I don't like it. I hate it. I do not like how it looks. I don't like how accessible that performance is. I don't like it.
You don't like it because it is very accessible, and you would like to have that automatic performance in your cars, and you don't have it.
Okay, so that might be true. That might be true. So we saw.
I have to agree, by the way. And having driven the car, I like it even less. Looks apart, or the presence of the car, etc. I don't like. It's big, it's bulky, it's heavy. But we were surprised by the amount of M2s. The car is new. It's a German car. The previous generation model had a lot of traction in Germany, so you can only think that this is a normal thing. Yet we weren't prepared for the amount of different tuners and.
Exactly. I think every single stand had the BMW M2 one way or another. The reason that it kind of sneaked in here was because of one specific car, and I don't believe that I'm saying this, but. This is why I think tuning is so cool. You can take a base that I personally, as Kostas, have zero interest about, and you can do all these cool subtle changes or in this case, extensive changes.
Actually, I tell you,
and make it a car that...
the recipe, as it sounds in a sentence, is completely lame. But when you see it there, I'm like, okay.
If you describe, exactly, absolutely, if you describe this car to me,
Yeah.
I would say...
Actually,
no,
say
I
it
don't like
openly. It's a reinterpretation of the E36 GT in the M2 G87.
Honestly, if you told me about this, I would say...
Yet, we saw this car there.
There were actually two of these cars, and this is why I found it very interesting.
I only saw one.
There was one that was the actual Alpha N performance car in the Holyhall booth, but that wasn't the car. The car that actually got my attention was at Eventuri. There was this beautiful green M2, beautiful green M2. Can you you understand what is happening? And we do owe this a little bit to tuning. So it had this complete body kit from Alpha N that had these carbon Kevlar panels that looked fantastic. Part of the reason also that I found it cool was the fit and finish. How everything looked.
Absolutely.
It had
actually,
this,
if you go back to what you just said about the Amuse panels, these were like that bonnet on the inside. It was almost as beautiful as it was
on the outside. And this is why also I do believe, although we want to be negative that things are going away and we are never going to have these cool times that we had like in the past. This is not true. The modified cars of today are like honestly much better. And what I mean much better is also I do believe that car, that BMW M2 that we saw, if you take it on track and you adjust it and you set it up properly and you drive it properly, it's also going to be a faster car. That M2 was 800 horsepower from a stock block.
Maybe it needs also the Amuse diet, so you get it to 1,000.
And I'll tell you something. No, I believe even heavy as it would be 1,600 kilograms.
Anyway, I have to say,
it would still be faster.
and sorry to interrupt, it was very funny for me to come walking down that corridor and see this guy lasting over a Class 1 wing from an E36 dropped into a G87 M2. I didn't know what was happening. And then I saw the wheels that looked like the proper E36 wheels. And I'm like, okay, I get it a little bit more. Very cool car.
When I think a modified car in 2023, I think something of that caliber. It has everything. It has a body kit, but not a random body kit.
We have to say that there were plenty of nauseous body kits and addendum to all of these G87s that, we could not be... Exactly, you don't want to see them.
And also, there are things, like these Pandem kits, that over fenders are cool. I love them to death, and they have their space. But there is an amount that you have seen enough Rocket Bunny kits, and I don't want a Liberty Walk Lamborghini. I look at it, I understand it, I don't want it. I saw this M2 and I said, someone put effort to take a car that is actually ugly and reinterpret it with small changes everywhere, from the front bumper to the fenders, because the fenders were also different, to the rear wing that balances this square look, and put the correct wheels, as Sergio said.
It was a nice blend.
It was a beautiful
blend.
Very
well balanced.
And a very cool interior. They went through the complete interior. Small touches, like you pull the paddles and they feel the right ways. They went and they made them magnetic and they feel like a race car. You look at the engine bay and it's immaculate. This is a complete car. And I for sure can see this car, being out there on a track day, going faster than GT3s and flying left and right, and then doing the lap times as well that go together with the look. Will that specific car go out and do this? No, but knowing how effective these cars are, I can see an 800 horsepower G87 M2 going out there and destroying everything on a track day. So 100% fits. It probably deserves to be higher up in this top 5, but we try to sort of go like a little bit to things that are unique. So our number 2, a car that was very customized. It was
actually, from distance, it looked like the real thing. Wide body, big staggered wheels, this and that. But as we got closer, I have to say that I didn't have any idea about this car. We understood it was not a Sax Speed, not an official, not a Works, not a classic Capri, but a reinterpretation made from scratch, taking a narrow body car and just going completely ballistic. You probably know more about that.
Yeah, this for me, I would say it was probably my favorite car of the show. I just put something else in position 1 for reasons that we'll explain later. Please stay tuned for this. But this car for me ticks multiple boxes. So first of all, it's based, as Sergio said, we see this iconic old race car shapes coming into tuning culture, and we see tuner cars start looking like track cars. I think this car actually took it a bit of an extra step. So it didn't just look like a Sax Speed Capri, it was actually their own interpretation of that. So it had part of the lines, but it was longer, it was wider.
It had a bit of a diffuser that the older car didn't have.
And it had a few things that I find very interesting. If you guys, and I know that there are quite a few German speakers in the audience, you might be familiar with the guys. They have like a YouTube channel, they do like stance cars. And this is why I find this very interesting, because you see the kids that do stance cars on bugs, starting building race cars from scratch, because this Capri is actually standing on a completely space frame chassis built into basically a Ford Capri roof. It had an LS swap, BMW transmission, BMW differential and complete rear axle.
Sort of cantilever suspension.
Cantilever suspension
like
made by themselves. Like literally, I think it's 3 guys, but in reality, one person did the majority of the fabrication.
Poor guy.
But it was very cool. Very cool. And
that aluminium.
The aluminium tunnel inside. Actually,
tunnel.
and this is very cool. I have been following the build a little bit, and you see when they started doing like the main chassis, you know, everything was a little bit more crude, and they start like with MIG welding tubes and cutting the car, and they have no clear idea what they're building. And I'm saying this in the nicest way possible. And then as the build progresses, they go to the interior and they do like this TIG welded aluminium tunnel. It was not, in my opinion, if you think that this was built by a couple of guys in a garage, not professional people, not like a big race shop, for me this was fantastic. And on top of everything, it was a running car. So that car runs and drives. Yes, it has an LS swap that might be like an easy turnkey solution, but still, it runs under its own power. It brakes, it works. It has basically BMW running gear, so you know that it probably will work. And it was actual paint. So they went through the trouble to make this unique body,
in a
their own
very beautiful shape.
And exactly. They made their own unique shape of that classic, very cool look. And they painted it properly, no wrap and bullshit, because also we said...
That was a proper color as well. A beautiful Aston Martin tone.
Exactly. A beautiful green, which was metallic. And like, for me, when I think a tuning show, and I think things I don't like, I think cheap wraps, stupid wheels, cars on bugs, super low. This car could be all these things, because it could be low and not functional with a stupid wrap, and you could literally take this build, change 20 things, 20 small things, end up with a shit car. And they did 20 things right, and they end up with something great. Like, honestly, like, I saw the thing, I said, like, I would like to see this on a track day. I would like to see it on track. Is it gonna be as cool as a Zack Speed Capri? Probably not, because they did their own suspension, and there are things that are absolutely okay. Actually, can I tell you something? We looked at this Audi, there was an Audi IMSA car, a real one, and it looked like a piece of shit.
Exactly, it looks like a death trap. Actually, like something you don't want to do.
The fabrication and the quality on that looks 20 times worse than what these kids are doing in 2023. And I know some...
But of course, we understand also the heritage and why these cars are relevant, and also why this car is there,
they are there
in the first place.
100%.
Even let alone in Germany. So these cars are very, very relevant. Which, by the way, you are talking about the Audi 90, I think that is the one. Driven by
Hans
Stuck
Stuck, yeah.
and Baltarol, I think,
Yeah,
if I'm right. Anyway, but speaking of Audis, there were also many of these reinterpretations of the Sport Quattro, at least
3-4 different ones.
Yeah, as well, which is, you know, some of these things...
Street cars, race cars,
you don't expect, and all of a
cars.
sudden they... And then, for example, me, that I do sort of like the platform of the 86 and the Yaris, I was expecting to see many of these cars because they are very popular here and we see them like in the numbers.
They are very popular in Japan and very popular in the US.
There weren't any. And there was nothing...
A couple of Yaris is
interesting or nothing that we hadn't seen before. So some things that you expect are not there. Some other things that you don't expect at all. Like, for example, these Sport Quattros, you have 4 of them all of a sudden. It's like, okay. And if they are not the real deal, they have been chopped and put together. And
they look like the real. Oh, actually, they look better than the real.
With a very cool execution, exactly. So you always have this sort of, you know.
This is a great segue for our number one. And I think we agree 100% on what was the number one car. And I guarantee you, if you told me that we're going to go at Essen Motor Show, which I didn't want to go, Sergio was the guy pulling forward this mission. And I'm
going again. I mean, like, I'm telling you.
You know, it's a good show. When you go there, you spend a full day and you still think that you have not seen everything and you want to go again. For me, that's a cool show. It justifies the price of the ticket. And the quality of the cars we discussed also, to me, justifies the quality of the ticket and going to a show and seeing all these things together and seeing them up close. So, number one, a car that I have seen before, of course, on the internet, but seeing it up close, it reminded me why that guy is where he is. We're going to pick a car, we're going to pick that JP Performance Golf. But in reality, number one is I would say it's the guy. And by the way, we don't follow the channel. We do not know the guy. We don't follow the videos. I would guess for people that do follow the channel, these cars have like probably an extra
presence, and they are there, and they know everything about them, and this and that. We don't.
Absolutely. We just went there. We know who the guy is. We know where the building is. We are familiar with the scene. But for us, it was nothing special because it's a JP performance car. You could take this car out of that place, put it anywhere in the show, and I will still stop Sergio and I will say, man, come and have a look at this.
The proof of that is that some of the cars that have been on his booth before are spread around the show, and they are still relevant. You still go and get close to see them.
Fantastic point. There was at Sonak's booth, there was his 964 Turbo, and it is a car it's a pink 964 lowered.
Is it a turbo?
It's a turbo.
Oh, okay.
Pink 964 on chrome wheels. Again, it's one of these things that if you tell me you would like this, I would say, are you fucking stupid? I don't like particularly pink cars. I don't like my 964s dropped. I don't think someone should do like a stance build on a 964 and so on and so on and so on. Then you see the car.
Then you spend 20 minutes looking around the car.
Absolutely, because the quality of the execution, like if it was a stupid wrap, I wouldn't look at that 964 a second time. But the quality of the paint, all the small details, the flamingo details on the seatbelts, on the rev counter, you know, the way that the car was actually sitting, you know, like stunts can be done in a bad way and in a good way. And the guy that repeatedly finds that happy medium, cars that, you know, they kind of look functional and they could work in the real world, even if they were compromised, that guy is JP. He had the stupid Pandem car with the stupid livery, and it still didn't look out of place. It was like well thought, well done. The whole booth looked great. The mix of cars, there was a Nissan with a very cool Boss kit. There was the Audi. There was that very cool GTR that we have seen before. But still well done.
And around we saw the
A36.
The A36 from last year. We saw the GT86 from years before as well.
Very
and these
cool
cars
cars.
are also, you still get close and have a look at them because they always have that detail that you missed before or something that, you know. This is actually what I like about the scene. Maybe you don't like the thing as a whole, but there is something that gets your attention, or a color, or a finish, or a material, or a...
And he has all this range of different cars. And if you try to box him, you know, like he's just copying whatever is popular in the US. He actually is not doing that. For me, this is cool. That Mark III Golf would not be built anywhere other than in Dortmund by JP.
Yeah.
And
if,
the same
if
goes...
anything, the show would not be the same without him. That's one. And if anything, not only he's not copying, but he's leading.
Exactly.
So,
and I would
kudos.
say...
Not that he needed that from
us,
this very channel.
Absolutely. But you could say, you know, like because he has a big following, people are interested on his cars. By the way, this is very popular in the US scene. So big YouTubers build mediocre cars, and people follow because they are big YouTubers. I think here is the opposite. The guy is building cool cars for himself, exploring car culture, and doing the mid-engine Twingo, and then doing a typical build, and then buying a brand new GT3 RS and a Diablo, and then back to JDM stuff, and then a two-engine VW,
and then a mid-engine B10 Golf 3,
which was the car in a bold color, with by the way. And this was one of the things that we liked. The fit and finish, again, like the small, simple splitter, the small changes on the bumper, the way the over fenders were done. Do you know, like, all these small details, they do matter. Like, you see this
I have seen stock cars with the wars adjustment between the doors. Exactly. These panel gaps, you know, doors and bumper and everything was perfect.
And I think it's a proof that tuning is not dead. Like people are going to be doing crazy shit.
Keep this at work. Keep the stupid ideas coming. Keep the fancy colors going out. Your sticker jobs, whatever you want. You know, there's a space for everything at any given time. You like it, you don't like it, cool, uncool. Which, by the way, I have to say that some of the small cars from independent tuners around there, there's always something interesting. So not everything is like the big...
Fantastic point. And I think we should close on this.
Yeah.
You go to the...
Actually, I tell you...
the final big hole.
I love it also. Like, you know, you go to these big booths and you see these big builds and there's people queuing for
autographs and
autographs and to take a photo with the guy, etc., etc. But then you continue and you go to this big hall where you have the independent cars from independent tuners that
Or small people.
Yeah, people that do it with a lot of effort and sometimes over years.
Private cars.
Yeah, and stuff. And it's very cool. And I saw a couple of cars that really got my attention.
Fantastic cars.
Third generation Celica, which is a very rare car here in Europe. I really liked it.
Yeah, some very cool Golfs in there, some VWs, some very clean VWs. The only two Mazdas, we should, like a small mention here. The only Mazdas that we saw one single MX-5 that was on bags
and on Porsche
purple.
Special, yeah, on Porsche wheels.
This wasn't exactly our car.
But there was this blackfish.
RX-7, that blackfish RX-7, that was very cool. Yeah. And there's another cool RX-7, but generally not enough Mazda. So if we were to complain about something, we would say not enough Mazdas. And finally,
maybe it's time for us to pick it up and build something. We cannot build, not even like a.
We can, with help, as all people do.
Exactly.
Yeah, guys, if you would like to see a One Lap Hero car at Essen Motor Show, I think
2035.
I think you should hit that Patreon link.
Do you want to go again next year, or are you going to be a prick like you were this year?
Now that everything is fresh, I won't.
Okay.
But when you ask me next year, I will say, fuck, what do I want to do this? I hope you enjoy this. The next video is going to be either a spotlight or a very interesting long-term review. Do you guys like the long-term reviews? Like we have mixed feelings. There was the Gab one that everyone thought that Gab is an idiot, but it was actually popular. And there was the Sergio one that everyone agreed and said, yes, this is great, but no one watched it.
Gabriele struggled to say something positive about the car, and I do like the car, but it has many flaws, so we keep it real, I think. No?
We do keep it real. So one more long-term One Lap Hero long-term review coming. And
I like those, by the way.
And one visit to another cool thing. Not the Essen Motor Show, different, closer to the One Lap Hero core values. I think you're going to enjoy this. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we have one of these trips. Me and Sergio go to a place that many cool cars are there. You can try to guess what it is. It's in 300-kilometer range from the Nürburgring.
Okay.
It has cars that you have not seen before.
Fair enough.
Fair
enough of a tip. Don't say anything.
I'm not going to say anything.
Someone will say it.
Someone will pick it up.
I am going to Essen tomorrow to see the rest of the show, and I will be dropping some stuff on.
I'm going to go edit some One Lap Hero videos so you guys can say something eventually. That's that. Hope you enjoyed.